From 17 once again. This is my Dark Souls Soul Level 1 restricted playthrough. This is the third section of it. We're going to be going from the Demon Ruins to the Iron Golem, apparently. This is my friend the Capra Demon. I'm using my buddy, my bestest buddy, the Jagged Ghostblade, and we're going to be doing a little spacing and hit and run tactics with this guy. So, Capra Demon is actually pretty easy to kill. The only problem with him in the boss fight is the room. You know, From Software knew exactly what they were doing with that room. Two of the little, you know, bloody poise-breaking dogs, and this guy in a tiny room. He's so mean. It's intentionally mean, and we just broke his poise just then. He flinched. Which just goes to show, you know, he's got big old swords, and he looks angry like a big old steroid-infused Marowak, but he's still a tiny Pokemon inside. So, I don't know if this guy will one-shot me. I think he'll one-shot me with that because it's both swords, essentially two-handed. And I'm just going to take my time, you know, use my stamina intelligently. Because I think what we're doing is we're going all the way down into the Demon Ruins to get the Ember so I can do some upgrading to the Fire upgrade path. And you do this because on a Soul Level 1 playthrough you don't really have, you know, all that access to the other Embers that quickly. And getting the pieces that you need for them is much more difficult, whereas the fire is extremely simple, because all the materials that you need can be gathered quite easily, and this ember, once you've played the game quite a lot, is not that difficult to get to. So we've just done a little shortcut down here to the bonfire, but it's been guarded by the sicky worm guy, who just looks nasty. He is a nasty looking dude, and you can tell that this is early game because we don't have the Lord Vessel. And I'm kind of thinking to myself here, how do I kill this thing? You know, if I die, I'm all the way back wherever I was. I've got 81,000 souls, which doesn't really make much difference in this playthrough, because souls are fantastic things until you don't really need them anymore. So I lure him into doing the sick, and I'm going to hit and run him right on his side, because if you hit his flank, he's going to swing in towards the wall, like that. When he does that, you can hit him and get out. But you'll notice I'm testing the times. I'm testing the limits of when I can strike and when I can get out, and if it's safe to do it. And if he does that, you're fine, because that sick takes a while to recover from. And there he goes again, and if you can get him into this loop of vomiting, which is nasty but functional, you can just keep on going in, hitting him, catching him. See, I get an extra hit because I know I've got the time to do it, we've tested it. And just be careful now, because he's not in the pattern. You notice? He's going to hit the wall. Oh no, he's going to be sick. Fantastic. So this guy's been pretty good so far. And that's what Dark Souls is a lot of the time. It's patience. And I don't even know why I'm talking about damage and surviving attacks, because the whole point of this playthrough is to take no damage. You know, one of the restrictions, and if you're curious of the restrictions and you want to do this yourself, they should be in the description. I've written them all down. And you can see the most of them. No shield, you know, no Darkwood Grain Ring, certain things like that. No taking damage. No Pyromancy, even though I have it equipped. I'm not going to be using it. I just have. But I haven't played Dark Souls at this moment in time for about a month and a bit. And every time I watch it, I'm reminded of why I love this game. It's just, it doesn't get old. So many games have no replayability at all, and this game for me it's almost perfect in the fact that I don't even notice that I'm going through the Demon Ruins for the 70th time, or how many times I've done this. I don't even notice that I'm killing this enemy, which is completely pointless. Like, what does this thing do? Why is he here? They could have had so many cool, interesting enemies here, and they don't. They have this guy. This guy and a couple of reused Taurus demons and Capras. It's just baffling. This entire place, and Izalith screams of, we didn't have much budget or time left, so we just copy-pasted these guys. And I think it's a massive shame, because this place could have been amazing. And if you're wondering why that's there, the Taurus demons did kill me. As I mentioned earlier on, this playthrough is more a test of editing and patience than it is really a test of skill. You're obviously going to need some Dark Souls skill to do it, but if you can do a low-level play through the game, you can probably do this, because the no damage restriction is only applicable to enemies. You know, you can take poison damage, you can take fall damage, you can take all kinds of damage. You just can't take direct damage. But this is me getting the Ember. You'll notice, did I use the bonfire at the top? I don't know if I did. I must have, because I died. So, normally if I was confident in my ability, which I usually am, I'm pretty cocky when I play Dark Souls, I wouldn't have used this bonfire, and it would have bit me in the ass, because that Taurus demon killed me. But if you don't use that bonfire, that Homeward Bone would take you all the way up into Blighttown, and if you're really confident and comfortable with your playing ability, you could not save in Blighttown, so that Homeward Bone would take you back up to Firelink, and if you play this game a lot, and you've got it down as a science, like a system, you're going to do that often. Like, when I play this game, I rarely hit bonfires. Obviously, on this run, it's a bit different, because this is a no-damage run, and I've never tried anything like this, nor have I seen anything like this. And I think that's one of the uniquest parts of this playthrough, and one of the main reasons I wanted to do it. Because a lot of people have Dark Souls content on their channel, and a lot of subscribers expect nothing but Dark Souls, and if you do that, and you feed those subscribers, you're going to limit your channel so much. You're effectively going to kill your prospectus audience, and I don't want to do that as much as I enjoy Dark Souls and as much as I enjoy posting Dark Souls. Because the harsh truth is, if I posted more Dark Souls, I would be more successful on YouTube and I would make more money. That is the truth. Dark Souls performs better on my channel than anything else does, aside from the viral videos that every so often happen, or the extremely difficult parts of a guide that get quite a lot of traffic because a lot of people are struggling. Those aside, Dark Souls outperforms everything I put out, but I have never been a person who puts out things just because they perform well. That's not what I'm here to do. That's not how I want to build my channel. So anybody, I don't ever get called a view whore and money whore or anything like that, so that's quite useful, because that's not the way I approach it. But if I were to be that person, that is what I would do. I would do nothing but Dark Souls, and there's a lot of people that would be so happy with that, because Dark Souls is great, but I don't want to do that. I want to put out a diverse amount of content, and I want to play the games because I want to play them. I don't want to play them because I'm expected to, or because that's the way the channel's going. I mean, look at Epic Namebro. Epic Namebro essentially stopped his channel for a while because he didn't want to just be the Dark Souls guy. Because all the subscribers, whenever he put anything else out, he got a backlash for it. And it's sad, because Epic Namebro is a gamer before he's a Dark Souls player. I mean, sure, he's one of the biggest spokesmen on YouTube as far as Dark Souls is concerned, because he's got the most credibility. He was there at day one, and he's done wonders for the Dark Souls community, and that is a respected position, and it's a great thing. But he should not be forced to meet this demand, if he doesn't enjoy it or if he wants a break from it, because at the end of the day, Dark Souls should not be a ball and chain for that guy, and it's unfair that people expect it. And the difference perhaps between me and Epic Namebro is the channel size. For him, he probably gets more people demanding Dark Souls in a single day than I have all year, which is just the differences in our subscriber count, which it can get to you guys, and I don't blame him for not making videos for a while, because you can burn out really quickly, and it only takes one negative comment to catch you on an off day where it can affect you, and it's just sad that subscribers do that to content producers. And holy fucking Christ, wow, Blighttown is framey. God, that's another thing as well. When you don't play Dark Souls for a while, the frame rate looks like dog shit everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And when you play Dark Souls quite a lot, you ignore it. It's like white noise. It becomes just part of the game. But right now, this is uncomfortable to watch. Especially coming off 60 frames per second, high-end PC games. Wow, this is ugly. And still a brilliant game, in spite of its problems. And all I want to do right now is talk about Dark Souls 2, and my internet's been so shit I still haven't got the video. It's like 30 minutes left to do 200 meg, which should have been done in 2.5 minutes. It's just hilariously bad at the moment. So I'm waiting to make a video on what I've just watched, which is the 12 minutes of gameplay, which isn't 12 minutes of gameplay. That's bullshit. But it's still enough to be, yo dog, this is Dark Souls 2, it exists, and there's a lot to talk about. And I'm not going to talk about it, that is what I've claimed, so no talking about it. But if you've not seen it, you will be able to see it on my channel. You'll also be able to see it at IGN and in various other sources. It's exciting stuff, it's exciting. Lots to talk about. But this is us making our way back up the beloved part that is Blighttown. The only real threat here for the run is the bugs. I got sprayed on one of these ladders coming up. I think it's this one. And the more observant people... Observant? Is that even a word? The more observant. There you go. Observient. That's like subservient. Or sentient with observe. Creating my own English language. So... No, not seeing the edit yet, but I know it's coming because I had to come back down here and record the climb back up because I did get tagged. Here's the witchetty guys. Very close to punching me then, wasn't he? That was close for comfort. The bugs, man. I don't understand that design choice. I don't understand why you would make anything infinitely respawn that is as annoying and as stupid and pointless as those creatures. The Valley of Defilement didn't have that. Why does Dark Souls? You know, Valley of Defilement is looked on as being this really ridiculous thing. And there's going to be a crossfade here, guys, because I'm trying to thin out how long these videos are. So, you've already seen me run back through the Valley of Drakes before, so we're going to do this instead. I did a nice little fade. And here we are in the Firelink. And I think Firelink Shrine is my favourite part of the game, because it reminds me of when I first played Dark Souls, and just the optimism, you know, this is a dark and lonely game, and something about that lilt in the Firelink and that familiarity because you go there a lot, it feels safe, it feels homey, it almost feels maternal in a weird sense, because you know, Firelink's there to support you. Firelink is your last bastion to all this darkness that surrounds you, and I've always found it to be a nice place, and I don't think there's any other part of this game that is as evocative as Firelink. Ooh, this is interesting. This is me using the alluring skulls to thin out the numbers of those crazy bastards that are waiting for me up here. Because this bit is quite tough. And one of the things I really liked about this playthrough is it made me use items I've never used. I've never messed around with alluring skulls. You know, I've never used black firebombs, but through my attempts of doing this challenge, it's brought around a whole new respect for these little features of the game that can be used really effectively if used correctly. I mean, just look at that. I needed to do some well-placed dives and some, bit of ducking and dodging action, but the alluring skulls did help. But this is the gargoyle guy. Gargoyles are always an interesting fight. This weapon is, I believe, fully upgraded, so it's going to do a lot of damage to him. And the gargoyles are never a tough fight once you understand them, but before you understand them, these guys can be really intimidating. When I first played Dark Souls, I hated this boss because it was scary. Just the thought of two things at once is not fun, especially the gargoyles, because they've got a lot of reach. The fire's kind of bullshitty. I didn't like that fight at all. I really didn't. I used to fear it. It used to be one of the fights that if I can do this, I'm good again. But until that point, yeah, I had a lot of trouble. And people watch my videos, oh, you're so good at Dark Souls, you saw this, you saw that. It doesn't happen overnight, folks. Dark Souls is a game that you have to learn. You have to learn it, and you have to put the time in. A lot of people aren't willing to do that, and that's why they struggle. But it's a rewarding game, and that's the thing that makes it so replayable. Because there's a hell of a lot of depth, and with that depth comes knowledge you didn't have, and you reassess your situation when you've got a knowledge. But before the patch, you used to get a homeward bone up at the bell, and you could immediately use it to get out. But I think they took it out in favour of giving them to Oswald, because this guy now sells them. And I think they're doing that so that you can get a stock of them quite early on. There's his infamous gesture, and there's the homeward bones. And I'm not too sure why they did that. There's a couple of things that I don't quite understand. Dark Souls is such a strange game. Such a deep game as well. The depth of this game is only apparent after putting in over, 50 hours or 100 hours, however long you've played it. I think I've played this game now, I don't know, about 200 hours, something like that, a silly amount of time. And not all of that has been single player, some of it's been PvP, but it's still playing the game. And it still baffles me to this day that there's so much depth. And looking at the new one, this is the only thing I'm going to say about Dark Souls 2, is it looks like they're taking it back to Demon Souls, just with the atmosphere, the ambience, the atmosphere, the sound, and the lighting. The lighting is the big thing I'm going to be talking about in my video when I put it up. Because this game is so much brighter than Demon Souls, and I actually turned the brightness up to max. And a lot of people probably think, well, that's not really the spirit of the game. It's not the spirit of the darkness, the dankness, you know, just this really just foreshadowing of guilt and sadness and sorrow. Well, that's not how I play games. You know, I like to see. And Dark Souls is great at hiding enemies, so I don't want to give this game any more chances than it already has. So my brightness is up to max. And I don't really mind that, because one thing I didn't like in Condemned, and I loved Condemned, was the fact that at times that game was so dark, you know, even with the brightness turned all the way up, you were still squinting like an idiot, you know, trying to find a contact lens in the bath or something silly. Although they probably float, so that's a really bad example. But there's the bonfire anyhow near Andre. We're going to be moving into Sense Fortress, and Sense Fortress is a tough place. Just because these serpent guys, they've got a lot of poise and a lot of life, and it's one of those things where, especially when you're doing a playthrough like this where we're not using a shield, you have to be confident that you can either chain the back... Wow, that guy's behind me. Chain the backstabs, or understand their attacks and their abilities so that you can exploit the openings and do damage and stun them. And once you get one backstabbed if he's on his own, it's the easiest thing in the world to chain backstab him. You know, they changed it for the sake of the online. Oh god, they're chasing me too. This is real bad. See you later, friend. But for the most, you know, it's really simple. But Sens is one of those areas of the game. I've been through this place a dozen times, and it still gets me every so often. I still fall off a bridge. Who falls off bridges anymore? You know, you get to that point where you think Dark Souls can't Dark Souls you anymore, and it still does. And it makes it great. It makes this game so good. And the one thing that saddens me about the PC version is From Software's inability to change things. You know, their inability to make a PC game. So instead of having it on a system where people could easily access the files and mod it, it's extremely difficult to do so. Because can you imagine what the modding community and the Dark Souls, you know, just really intense fan base would have done to this game? You would have all sorts of obnoxious things, you know. You'd have had so many abilities. I'm still waiting for a Gravelord mod to come out where, however, I don't know if you'd be able to do it. And if anybody's listening to this and you're a PC whiz kind of guy and you're all about modding and you're gifted and stuff and you've got some time, if you could do that, find, you know, some way to make a save state in this game where the world is Gravelorded and it doesn't go away, I would worship you like a deity. I seriously would, because I want to do a Gravelord playthrough, a full Gravelord playthrough. I'd just love to do it, and I don't know how to get perma Gravelorded. It's not reliable. It's... What the hell am I doing? Just chilling out, probably checking my phone or checking the capture device, because as many of you know, my videos occasionally are out of sync because of my PVRs playing up, and if I don't catch it, it's left in. And I do apologise for that, folks, but I'm only fucking human, and I make a lot of videos, so it's just how it works. This guy's a bit of a pain, because this is really, really close for you to be fighting something this big. And the worst part about him is, if you get stuck on one of those like flank ways, you can't roll past him. So you've got to use the iframes of the attack, and he does a very wide sweep. So dodging that attack sometimes can be difficult. And the cool thing about this sword, if you do the combo that I just did then, and you follow it up with the heavy attack, it's almost guaranteed bleed. And the bleed on it is pretty good. It's not, you know, it's not a life hunt, but it's still decent. And once you're up here, you're practically done, because if you know about the secret bonfire, which, how the hell do you find this? Like, whoever was the first person to find that is a genius, because Dark Souls is a game where I do not like to throw myself into the unknown. I don't like to go near the edges just in case the game pushes me off out of spite. But as you can see, I've been doing some upgrading. You've not seen that because there's no point in me showing you it, it's boring. But it is happening, and it's all outlined in the rules. You know, if anybody wants to do this playthrough, the restrictions are all outlined in the description, and just have fun with it. These challenge runs exist because this game is that good, and the challenge level already is good, but it's, for some people who've played this quite a lot, it's not enough. And it's never about, oh, I'm amazing, I'm this, I'm that. It's just giving you a situation where you can spend more time with the game that you love. And You know, that might sound sentimental and silly, but I think anybody who's as big a fan of Dark Souls as I am at this moment in time will understand that feeling. Because anybody that plays Dark Souls more than once doesn't just play it twice, they play it a dozen times, and if it gets its claws in you, there's nothing you can do. And I don't think there's many games at this point that have that same effect, I really don't. But here's the Iron Golem. You'll notice I haven't killed the guy up top. There's a reason for this. I'm going to fight him where he stood. And my motivation is, well, the speedrunners fight this guy here and knock him off all the time in seconds. But the speedrunners are generally using a Black Knight halberd or something like that, and I don't have that, so I managed to beat him up quite well, but I don't knock him off as quick as I would if I was doing a standard playthrough. The camera's just adorable, isn't it? A big giant golem can't see a damn thing. Keep on beating those ankles, and he's not stunned, but he looked like he was. Or is he? Here he is. That was weird. And he's off. And all you've got to do now is time the big old flamey ball throws so that you can hit that circle and get carried away by the Tower of Latria cousins. But that is the end of the video, folks. I hope you're enjoying the series. It's not going to be the most fluid series every video every day, but it's done, and I will be sharing it in time. I'm just going to space out the uploads so that people can enjoy them. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.